In what seems to be a weekly update now, DJI have yet again released a new version of their Fly app. This is 1.7.5 for Android devices, and I have been out flying this guy. This is the DJI Mini 2, still a popular drone and favourite on the channel, and hopefully by watching to the end of this video you will have all the information to know whether there is anything new, whether this update is safe to install, or whether you should steer well clear. So let's get into it. Now currently the way to get this update is through the in-app prompt. This update is not yet on the DJI website, however as soon as it does go on the DJI website I will add it to my own personal Google Drive, where of course if you don't know already I host all of the previous Android APKs, so if you ever do install a version of the DJI Fly app you're not quite happy with, if you are an Android user you can always go back to a previous version. Now one thing that was an immediate red flag to myself is even though this is a new version, the release notes are the exact same as what was on DJI Fly 1.7.4. So looking through all of the menus then, specifically for the Mini 2, and I wanted to single out this guy because there has been a few issues when it comes to the DJI Fly app and compatibility with this drone, especially for Android devices. I'm not particularly saying those exist for iOS, but they are for Android. So first of all, we look at the gimbal rotation. That's one of the most annoying things because for some bizarre reason, when you open up the DJI Fly app, sometimes the toggle will be on, sometimes it'll be off. However, if we actually try and rotate the gimbal, even though the toggle is turned on, you can see the gimbal will not rotate upwards whatsoever. What we need to do is go back into the settings and then we need to toggle it off and then back on again. And now after doing that, we can then upward rotate the gimbal. So that's really frustrating and just something I want you to be aware of because of course, you know, if you put your drone up in the air in anger and you plan to capture a shot, that could easily stop you missing it if you do need to rotate the gimbal upwards. Now there is a couple of little other menus that would keep being quite frustrating. Again, same issues as what I've reported previously. For some reason the colour indicator for the LED light seems to reset to this colour when I do have it set on yellow. For some reason the crosshairs seem to reset even though they're on. The menu doesn't show they're actually active, so that's quite frustrating. And once again, if you do go into the settings for the advanced gimbal settings and you want to adjust items such as the rotation speed of the aircraft when you're trying to set cinematic smooth settings, basically if you hit that reset button they don't actually reset, they just sort of stick as they are. So either you have to set them where you're at, but if you ever want to go back to factory and then sort of play around with them again, you sort of can't. On a previous update, DJI removed the app album, citing it was so much better to put a photo that you have just taken using your drone directly into your phone's gallery when using the DJI RC-M1 controller. And for me, I really like this feature, but many of you have fed back to me that it's not actually working. And when I had the DJI Mini 2 on the bench, as you can see, when I take a photo, for some reason it again wasn't actually doing it for me either initially, and what I had to do is I had to click on the photo and then manually download it. Sorry, it's nothing interesting. Like I say, it was on the bench, so it's just a photograph of the wall. However, after playing around in the menus, coming back to it, taking another photo, if I quickly switch to the gallery, you will see we get the message at the top to say it is auto syncing to the phone's device. And as you can see, as I pop that up, that third photo that I've just taken synced without any prompt from myself. So guys, it does kind of work. It just kind of does it as and when it feels like it. It's a bit strange, but it is what it is. But Gavin, you don't want to see the drone just on a bench, me flicking through menus, you want to see the drone up in the air, so let's get flying then. I've taken off using the DJI Mini 2, as I've mentioned in the outset to this video, and basically everything seemed to be working absolutely perfectly fine for myself. It picked up satellites quite quickly, my compass indicator works absolutely fine and completely accurate, no problems with that whatsoever. Signal as I'm flying along didn't seem any problems whatsoever really, over and above the usual signal issues I get in this area. One of the best features, of course, of the DJI Mini 2 is its OcuSync 2.0 technology. This was a huge game changer over and above the extended Wi-Fi on the DJI Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. And the way it works is, of course, if you are out flying along and you are starting to encounter encounter some interference on either the 2.4 or 5.8 GHz frequency. As you can see in flight, if we do start to struggle, click into the transmission tab and you can see it does switch between the two to ensure we have the strongest signal at all times. So that technology always impresses me and is a really cool feature of these DJI drones. So let's perform a little quick shot then. And one thing many people don't realize when it comes to quick shots, most people use them to literally fly straight into a subject, select on a target and then execute the quick shot. But actually you can use this feature to just randomly pick a house like you're doing right now, and then it just gives you a really nice, smooth, almost reveal shot, okay, which is a really cool feature without having to fly it manually and utilizing the quick shots. You don't actually have to be really close up. So that's a cool little feature if you wasn't aware of that already. So to finalise this test then, I will execute a usual return to home test just to make sure the DJI Mini 2 using this software can get itself home should you ever get into trouble. And one thing to check is if you do have the DJI Fly App and you have recently updated it or done a fresh install, just make sure that your return to home settings were as you left them, just to make sure that it's not currently flipped to hover or anything like that, and it will actually return to home. And of course, please make sure that your return to home height is higher than any of the nearest objects to avoid this little guy crashing into something really expensive and potentially losing your drone. And of course the DJI Mini 2 got itself home using its return to home safety feature, as we knew it would, because let's be honest, this drone is still absolutely fantastic, especially at its price point for what it delivers. I would still recommend this little guy to most of you out there. So what's the verdict then? Well, basically all the remaining issues are still there. There is absolutely nothing new when it comes to the DJI Mini 2. There's nothing going wrong with your current device and it does actually work perfectly fine. I would skip this one purely on the basis that there is nothing new and no real reason to update. I've seen no performance difference with this whatsoever really, over and above what I've been flying over the past couple of days anyway. But of course I did find no particular extra bugs and it did fly absolutely fine. So if you do want to install it, it's entirely up to yourself. If you do install it, as I've mentioned in the beginning of the video, and you want to go back, just use my Google Drive link to go back to the previous version. No harm done. So that's a wrap for this video, guys. If you want to see how this DJI Mini 2 does stack up against the competition, I will leave a video here where you can go check out the difference between that and its main competitors, and then somewhere around there I will leave YouTube to recommend something they might think you want to watch. Until next time, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you're awesome, and see you again soon.